All right, we are back. I've got the timer started, and I want to begin by just giving some shout outs to Joe and to Britt and also to Rex if you're tuning in. Thanks for all the comments and emails and everything. Um, keep sending us any questions you might have about process. And also, I just want to say high five to anyone who took the time to read through me and Adrian's book on writing. Um, or any of our novels. We'll continue to put links below for those things, but I think continuing to support the community of writers looking for, um, independently published books is and seeking those out is and seeking out those writers is really important. So kudos to you if you're doing that. Um, but yeah, how's it going? We're on. I don't even know what day. I guess it's just the date. What day is what day is it? Is it the
It's
10th?
the 10th of November. So
Okay,
yeah,
so we're
day
10
10.
days in. We're 10 days in. All right. How are you doing on day 10?
Pretty good. I had a little bit of trouble a couple days ago because my internet got knocked out by um, something the Air Force was doing was the explanation I got. I don't know, but they had to
Hmm.
like come service my internet and get it connected back up, which I didn't really need it, but I kept getting interrupted because of it and having to
Hmm.
deal with it. So I had my first day where I didn't hit my word count.
Hmm.
But I also, for the holiday, I have the day off today. And so I'm going to make it back up today and be right back on track. So it's going fine. I'm still working through. One thing that I did to kind of solve a small problem was last night I just sat kind of while everybody was watching a movie, I sat with my phone and just collected a like page full of names so that when I need a name, I just like grab one off the list and keep going.
That's good.
Yeah, so small improvements.
Yeah, no, that's great. One thing I wanted to say about the word count thing, I like Joe mentioned that he's shooting for like 200 words a day. Um, that's awesome. I my first novel that I ever completed and got published, I my commitment was 250 words a day, 6 days of the week. And I got that number just because I think that was Hemingway's daily word count, you know? So, yeah, I think slow and steady wins the race, you know? Um, I feel like one of the things I've been thinking about this. Like I've been thinking about I saw this video about how sushi is made. And one of the things that like they do in Japan with like if you want to learn to be a master sushi chef, it may be 10 or 12 years before you get to touch a fish. Like you're going to learn how to clean up first. You're going to learn how to squeeze the correct amount of water out of a napkin. Like you're going to learn how to make rice. You're going to learn how to prepare vegetables, how to use a knife before you ever touch a fish. And I love the spirit of NaNoWriMo to get you out there and writing a novel, but I really do feel like that's handling the fish first. There's so much stuff like little tiny things like at the sentence level how stuff should work, character development, character arcs, plotting, all those kinds of little that I mean you and I have spent years kind of sorting out. So like I'm not saying this as a criticism of NaNoWriMo. I love NaNoWriMo. I think it's great, but I feel like it should be followed by like a national novel editing month and then like 10 national novel writing reading months where you read novels written by other NaNoWriMo people, before you ever write another novel. Like I think that would be the most robust way to like learn the whole thing. Because I love NaNoWriMo for like the commitment and like the marathon qualities of it. It really makes you dig deep. But I was I one some of this is coming from like I joined. So another shout out to the Memphis like NaNoWriMo Discord group. They're awesome. I joined their channel, like their Discord channel Wednesday because I didn't really have anything to do. And they were doing sprints on there. And once I kind of figured out what it was and what they were doing, that was a lot of fun. But then as I kind of like clicked around and kind of listened to some of the discussions and the problems that people were having, I was like, "Ugh, this is I mean, you're gonna spend a lot of time writing a novel, and if you've got these kinds of like entry level questions, no one's I don't know, there was a tension there for me. It's like this is stuff that you should spend some time pondering on this stuff and reading some books, prior to just like jumping right into novel writing. I'm not trying to sound like a someone high and mighty or whatever, but like there were a lot of questions about like whether or not to name a character Belvedere. And I was just like, oh, so that's where we're at. Okay. No, don't name a character Belvedere. Um,
I would.
so yeah, maybe if it was a robot, like if it was a, I don't know, fact finding robot from the alien civilization. Yeah, Belvedere's not a bad name. But yeah, I don't know. I had some thoughts about that.
Yeah, I
But
think that point's well taken. I've thought about that before too. I think there's the other to just play. You represented that side of it very well, so I'll take the devil's advocate
yeah.
side, um, which is just for a lot of people, writing a novel is fun and they want to try it.
Mm,
There's not very many things that you decide to like dedicate yourself to spending 10 years getting good at before you've ever actually tried to do it. Not everybody that takes a karate class becomes a black belt.
that's true.
Some
That's
people are
true.
just having fun.
Yeah, and they all get something out of it. That's true.
Yeah.
Some things that I really appreciated from the Discord group and that I want to kind of shout out to, because I was getting out of my comfort zone. I was like, I don't know what this is. I felt really, I don't know. It was like I almost felt nervous just showing up to it, even though it wasn't even an in-person thing. But what I did was I was tired, and it was like late at night. It was like 7, 8 at night, late for me, um, to be writing, and and they were doing these sprints where it was like a word count sprint, and I just sprinted to outline because I'm still like I'm only a few days ahead now on my outline. Like I'm catching up on my outline. Um, and so I was like sprinting to outline. That was really helpful because it was like gamifying it for me. And so rather than playing a video game, which I normally would do on a Wednesday night, I was like gamifying the outline. And that was really helpful. That was super helpful. And I realized that there was like this challenge to kind of like know your own risk reward system. So like rather than play the video game, which is a reward for me, I reward myself by playing video games. Like I was able to gamify the writing process on Discord, and that was like hugely beneficial, rather than playing video game and having nothing to show for it. Nothing against playing video games, but yeah. Um, but yeah, but I hear what you're saying. I think, um, and yeah, I that's why I feel like if
I also
so
I also think it's good for what I talked about a couple times ago, just getting the experience of writing a beginning, a middle, and an end of a novel. Like I know that kind of writing short stories is a kind of small way of getting a sense of that, but you know that in a novel it's totally different. You can write a million short stories and it's not going to prepare you for doing that in
that's very
something that
true.
is 80,000 words long. So and I like the doing it so quickly means that it is a low investment. So you can do be really bad at it and not you're not too emotionally invested in it because it took you a month. Whereas if it takes you 2 years to do it really badly, a lot of your heart is sunk into that 2 years.
Oh, trust me, man. Yeah, I was devastated when the agent told me that my novel was unpublishable because I had worked on it for like 5 years. And yeah, with this agent. And at the end of the day, she was like, nope, hard pass. That was devastating. If it had just been a month, that might be less so. But like I was like, I don't want to write ever again after that. And then like 5 months later, I'm plugging away at a new novel. Um, so School of Hard Knocks. I'm definitely for it. Like I can think of things that were said by like Trent in our writers group early on that were like, gosh, that was really harsh criticism, and it was more like aimed at me than at my writing. Um, and I learned from it. I learned from it, you know. I love you, Trent, if you're watching. I really do. I've learned from you. Uh, but one of the things, okay, here's the other thing I've been thinking about. So the boys were sick on Tuesday or something, and we watched this documentary about happiness. I think it was just called Happiness, which
I've
is,
seen that.
have you? It's
Yeah,
very interesting. I almost texted you about it. One of the things that stood out to me was they talked about how like intrinsic values and extrinsic values of happiness, like so extrinsic values of happiness would be like monetary gain, fame and power and fortune, and then material comforts like hedonistic pleasure. That would be extrinsic things. Like if I could get more money, I'd be happy, right? And there's some truth to that. Like if you're starving in the gutter, yes, more money will make you definitely more happy. But once you get to like your basic needs met, more money might actually not make you happy. But then there's these intrinsic values, right? Like once we have our basic needs met, the intrinsic values are things like relationships, like meaningful relationships, personal growth, and care for the community. And those intrinsic values are diametrically opposed to the extrinsic values of happiness. They're like, it's like hero and villain shit, right? Pardon my French, YouTube, but like if I value relationship and that's where I find happiness, then I may look at someone kind of funny who values money. And conversely, that person who values money is probably going to have to put some relationships aside in their pursuit of money. Does that make sense?
yeah.
So like the thing that like I really this stuck with me. It's like I was like, Ben, are you happy in your writing? Right? Like, do you get happy from writing? And the answer is yes, I do. Um, but that's been a process. Like writing for me started out as almost like a mental health thing, like I've talked about in other stuff. It was just this OCD compulsion. Um, but I found that like over the years, as I've found ways to tie my writing, this compulsion to intrinsic things like to relationship, to personal growth, to care for community, then it all of a sudden makes sense and the writing makes me happy. But when I started out, I was thinking that, oh, you're going to write, you know, because I was angry. I came out of this awful Christian private school. I was like, you're going to write the next great novel and show all these jerks like what they missed, you know, and not being your friend or whatever, you know. I had it tied to
Yeah.
extrinsic things. Um, and I don't know, that stood out to me, and I think that there's a lot in there for crafting better characters too, like the extrinsic crowd versus the intrinsic crowd. There's a lot in that. Like it's a good movie. The happiness movie is a good movie. um
Yeah, it was good. And that what you said is interesting. I think I never thought about it in those terms before. I usually think about like how does writing make me happy? Well, so my answer is sometimes. Like
yeah,
sometimes writing makes me happy. Sometimes it makes me miserable.
right.
And the way I've kind of thought about that for myself is about like quantity and quality, basically. Like which I it is kind of a it's the same basic thing as extrinsic and intrinsic.
Mm.
Quantifiable rewards versus qualifying rewards, you know. I've tried to write very fast, but we've talked about this before. Like I had a goal that I wanted to write faster, and when I was trying to do that, what I found was that I was enjoying it a lot less because I actually like to
Mm.
spend time with it and get to know it and have it be a part of my life for a while. I don't like running from thing to thing, you know, getting stuff done and then moving on. I like to kind of spend some time with it. The quality of my writing, and I don't mean the like literary quality, I mean the like quality of the time as a part of my life requires me to slow down a little bit. enjoying the process is about slowing down and being really intentional and really going really deep into kind of every aspect of my project, which takes time. It slows you down and takes more time. But it makes me happier than writing quickly and kind of monetizing as quick as I can. That doesn't, it's not really fulfilling to me. And I think even if I was making a lot of money, I'm sure that would give me a boost and it would kind of encourage me to keep doing that a little longer. Um, but I can see that I would burn out because I'm not getting internal emotional rewards really at all by doing that, you know?
That's a really good point. I have a question. It's more of a, I guess, kind of a personal question, but like, when you think about that kind of intrinsic way of approaching your writing and how that is linked to more satisfaction in the writing process, like, where would you place that? Like, is that personal growth? Is that what you're talking about? Are you talking about needing to relate more to the writing and relate more to people in your life, or is it like a care for the reader? Like, you care for, you're going to put this book out there and you want it to be a really good book for the reader,
I
like
don't
care
really
for
care
community.
about that until I'm in the revision process.
Mm.
When I'm like doing generative writing, I'm not thinking about the reader at all. Maybe I should, but it's more about kind of self discovery, yeah, and discovery of the story. It's like it's about discovery. Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. I mean, I guess it's an open question what it is I'm discovering, if that's just in me or if it is something else that I am exploring. But
Yeah.
it's about the exploration and the journey and the discovery process. And then when it's time to kind of revise, then I switch hats and I start thinking more about like who is going to read this, what needs to be done to it to turn it into something that people will like, you know. But when
Yeah.
I'm like when I'm doing generative writing, I mean that would paralyze me. If I was thinking about the reader while I was doing generative writing, it would paralyze me because I would second guess everything. Every time I kind of came up with what I thought the reader would like, later I would decide, no, the right reader's going to hate that. Um, I need to change everything about it. You know, I can't write worrying about what the reader thinks. I edit worrying about what the reader thinks.
I think when I'm in my highest mind, I am writing for the reader, but I'm writing for the reader the way that, like, that priest in Temple of Doom is like performing, he's like scooping that man's heart out with his hands. It's like, that's the way I'm like, I'm doing this for you. I'm gonna scoop your still beating heart out for you. You're gonna have the religious ride of your life.
It
Like,
might not be what you want, but it's what you need.
and you're gonna be praising the whole way down into the lava. So it is for the reader, but it's like I often think about, like, yeah, scoop their heart out with the spoon. That's like a mantra that I have. Is like, yes, use the spoon to scoop the still beating heart out. So yeah, it is for me. There's an intrinsic value for the care for community. Um, so last cynical thought, and then we'll call it a day. There's a part of me, a very deeply cynical part of me, that hopes that NaNoWriMo continues to generate primarily garbage books. And that is so that what is fed into our robot overlords data set is largely garbage stories, so that those of us who do care about writing can continue to write good books, and the robot's data set will largely be bad books.
Well, and it will, like if people really just spend 30 days writing a book and then try to monetize it, they're all no, I am extremely skeptical that very many good books get written in 30 days.
Well,
It's not to say that
that's a conversation.
a draft can be written in 30 days, but more
Yeah.
work required after that, you know?
Well, there's clearly a big debate there. So we'll save
Yeah.
that for another day. But Man, thanks again. I look forward to this time, and I'm always encouraged to hear how your process is going. I'll see
Me
you
too.
next week.
Yep.